The Outer Worlds is one of the most garden variety RPGs I've played. It's as though the devs took notes on everything people liked in other games and tried to fit in as many of these elements as possible. You would think that this would be a surefire way to success, but unfortunately, they failed to make the Outer Worlds special in any way of its own. I think it's a shame too, because I feel like they were trying to make a great game, but for me at least, the end product falls a little short.
Look, you idiots! How many times do I have to tell you we can't say shit like that? Fire whoever wrote this!
Now, that's not to say it's a bad game. I feel like I've been saying this a lot recently, but I don't like to straight up say a game is bad when it does have some good things about it. Still, with the Outer Worlds, I was a bit surprised to find it was pretty average overall, after seeing it get such stellar reviews pretty much across the board. You play as a colonist left to rot in cryo on the edge of the solar system. You're awoken by the crazy scientist Phineas Wells using some sort of super science juice.
Shit.
You get to create a character, and there are a few options to choose from, including all the usual stuff like facial hairs and scars, but nothing out of the ordinary. With your character made, Phineas sends you off on a mission across the galaxy to help him find some more special source to unfreeze the rest of the abandoned colonists and free the solar system from the evil corporation that controls it.
Good luck!
The story isn't bad and has some fun moments. I just found it a little strange because you can kind of guess what's going to happen the whole way through, which is fine, I guess. It moves along at a good pace and takes you to various places around the system to keep things from getting stale. Visually, the world design is great. The planets are bright and colourful, and the different planets all feel alien with different creatures and foliage, though some maps are noticeably larger than others. The dystopian corporate towns are a good contrast and add some variety, and they all feel as though they fit well in the narrative. There are some small secrets hidden around, such as loot stashes, but nothing that interesting really, and although the world does look nice from afar, it offers no real reason to explore it further than what a quest requires. I did try to explore at first, but when I realised there was nothing to find, I began taking the most direct route to a marker, just so I didn't waste my time. There are some fun characters, though most are pretty stereotypical. You can have some fun with the dialogue choices, but I felt no matter what I said, there weren't any real consequences, and people would just brush off whatever I said and point you towards the next goal regardless.
I wager she told you to say that, the sly old bird.
They take great delight in letting you know that you can kill pretty much everyone you come across, which is a feature for some, I guess. It is supposed to give you maximum freedom when playing, but just like the dialogue choices, nobody much seemed to care who I killed. There were no consequences for anything.
You just killed him.
Towards the end, I went through a town and just directed my companions to kill people, and nobody around me did anything to stop it. You can, of course, put together a band of merry companions to accompany you across the solar system, and they are pretty useful in combat, as bait. You have an alcoholic gunslinger, a wannabe pirate, a typical greased up female mechanic who just happens to fall in love with the only other female greased up mechanic you meet in the game.
But you're alright.
There's a vicar who's also a secret super hacker, a happy-go-lucky robot, and this guy who I only spoke to once and just realised I know nothing about.
Hey, we don't know each other yet, but I'm Felix Millstone.
They all have quests for you to do, and some are more interesting than others. The mechanics quests, for example, seem to all revolve around her love story, and you have to listen to some weird poems about engines and collect soup for her big date. To be honest, I just couldn't be bothered to finish that one. Most of the quests are a little like that. They aren't boring exactly, they're just unexciting. They mainly revolve around running to a place, talking to a person, collecting something, and then taking it back. Standard quest stuff. And I did do quite a lot of them, but it's mainly the same thing every time. You can sometimes choose to hand an item to the person who requested it, or you can sell it off to someone else for some coin, which I did like as it gives you more chances to choose your own path. Again though, it ultimately didn't matter what you did, because nothing really changed either way. The combat itself is pretty fun, with a lot of Firefly style space cowboy gunfighting, and some added melee weapons. At first, some of the mobs can be a challenge, but it doesn't take long before you can just melt through them in a couple of shots. The weapons are pretty standard for the most part. You can have Pistol Mark 1 and then Pistol Mark 2, which is exactly the same gun with better stats, and this goes for all the guns really. You do get some science weapons though that are a lot more fun to use, and these do things like shrink enemies or mind control them. You also have time dilation to use during combat, which I thought would be Fallout style with some proper targeting or something, but after using it once, I never bothered with it again as it was pretty much useless. The skills and perk system is done quite well. You can focus on whatever attributes you like, such as tech or sneak skills, until you get to level 50. Over 50, you can focus down more and put points solely into hacking or lockpicking, for example. I focused mainly on personality and tech skills at first, and in no time at all I could talk my way past anyone. It was pretty fun, and some of the dialogue options for intimidating people were pretty snarky.
Thank you for reminding me.
Another mechanic I thought was pretty good was the phobias. Once you've faced a certain number of enemies, you can choose to let your character develop a phobia towards that type of enemy. This will lower some of your skill points, but will reward you with perk points. Perks will let you give overall boosts to your damage or your carry weight, and I thought it was a good way to add another layer of customization to a playthrough.
You must be one of those philosophicals.
Overall, The Outer Worlds is a nice RPG with a fairly good story. It just fails to deliver on anything outside of the main narrative, and it feels a bit lazy in some places. I am confused about how it got such good reviews on release, because no matter how I look at it, it doesn't seem to deserve them. The story is okay, the gameplay is okay, and the weapons and armor are okay. It just seems pretty average across the board, but maybe that's just me expecting a bit too much from it. I would say that Game Pass is a good way to play The Outer Worlds, as it is currently included with that. If you don't have access to Game Pass, I would probably wait for a sale. It's currently at 50 quid on Steam, which is way too much if you ask me. That's all I have to say on The Outer Worlds. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please give it a like if you did, and as always, let me know your thoughts on the game down in the comments. That's all from me on this one. I'll see you in the next one.
Sorry, couldn't resist. Let's go again.